Well, I got my notes, check. Sunglasses, check. Hat, check. Pepsi, check. Thick skin, check. Let's go. Hey, welcome to Golden Blue Dude, everybody. If you're a college football fan, might as well hit the like and subscribe button because that's all we do over here. Go check out our Patreon page. We call our Patreons the shot callers because that's exactly what they do around here. And when the regular season gets here, our Patreons will get to decide which game we'll live stream, and you'll get to watch with Golden Blue Dude. And the score prediction contest will be coming back. Every week I pick out a game and my Patreons guess the score, and whoever comes closest to the score wins $20 every single week, and you can win as many times as you want. The higher the Patreon, the more guesses you get per week. There's something everybody needs to realize. There's several games being played right now. First, well, the Big Ten and the SEC, they're just being aggressive and they're trying to get the biggest brands possible to come join them. Then you have the ACC and the Big 12. They're kind of stuck in the middle where they are vulnerable to get picked apart, but they're also on the offensive to gain some members. Then there's the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is just fighting for existence. Ever since the Big Ten plucked USC and UCLA, the Pac-12 has officially been put on life support. And on top of that, I'm hearing strong talks between the Big 12 and Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, Oregon, and Washington are going on right now. The Big 12 wants to add those 6 teams from the Pac-12, and that would just leave Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. So only 4 teams would remain from the Pac-12. And under Pac-12 bylaws, if it gets down to 9 members, the conference can disband. So then the Pac-12 is looking at, well, then do we merge with the Big 12 straight up, or do we merge with the Mountain West, or do we pick off from the Mountain West? But there's also another option. They could actually keep those members if they can renegotiate a TV deal right now and get a good TV deal. Problem is, TV numbers for the current Pac-12 network and the Pac-12 at night, not very good at all. And Fox is like, no, we are not bidding at all. Our hands are off the table. So I don't think the Pac-12 has all that much hope of getting a good TV deal. Their current rights expire in 2024, but they're being picked apart right now. So the clock is ticking on the Pac-12. My personal opinion, I think the Pac-12 is done. I think they're over. And I'm not sure what happens to those 4 remaining schools: Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. The problem with the Pac-12 is what used to be the blessing for the Pac-12, and that's geography. A lot of people thought that would keep the Pac-12 from getting picked apart. They are so far west that nobody thought that any conference would be willing to stretch that far west to get the Pac-12, including the Big 12. But ever since the Big Ten made that move, that's completely off the table now. Anything goes. Anybody will go as far as they want if they want a brand. Now, the funny thing about the Pac-12, specifically about Oregon, is that Nike owner Phil Knight doesn't want Oregon in any other conference except for the Big Ten or the SEC. Because from what I'm hearing, the Big Ten isn't going to expand any further as of right now if they can't get Notre Dame and somebody else. Whether it's Notre Dame and Oregon or Notre Dame and Stanford. And like I told y'all yesterday, it looks like Notre Dame is saying, no, we don't want to join the Big Ten, at least for now. So Phil Knight's wish might not come true right now. I mean, it might later, but right now, it's not coming true. Oregon's only choice might be the Big 12 right now. That's not a bad choice. The Big 12 is doing pretty good right now. It looks like they're going to lock down Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State. So that's going to look like a good conference for Oregon and Washington. Travel might be a little bit brutal, but bringing in those other 4 members from the Pac-12 is actually going to help Washington and Oregon with travel. And they can be each other's travel partner whenever they do go out Midwest. So if you're an Oregon or a Washington fan and you really wanted to go to the Big Ten, that's not good news. But if you're okay with going to the Big 12, then that's fine. That's great news. It's better than to stay in a sinking ship that is the Pac-12 and get sunk with the ship. Because I'm telling you, the Pac-12's days, they are numbered. You're not going to be able to renegotiate that TV deal, especially with Fox saying, we don't want to touch that at all. And you know what? Having games in different time zones is actually better for you because that Pac-12 at night didn't work out too well, did it? So if you can have games more in the primetime spot or even earlier in the day, I know that's going to be a little bit difficult on your athletes, but it's more TV exposure and it would actually help with your recruiting. So this might actually be a blessing in disguise for these Pac-12 members. We already know it's a blessing, not even in disguise for USC and UCLA. I mean, they're in one of the best conferences in the nation, and they're going to get better TV spots now. So as good as USC's recruiting has been under Lincoln Riley, it's going to go through the roof once they start playing in the Big Ten. And the current remaining Pac-12 members, for whatever reason, have decided they are not going to play USC and UCLA because they are that mad that they went to the Big Ten. Really, you're just hurting yourself because that's a big-time game and that's big-time TV exposure. You're going to end up in a different conference anyway, so why you're doing that, I don't know. Honestly, you could force USC and UCLA to move to the Big Ten sooner, because if they remain in the Pac-12 for a couple years and everybody else in the Pac-12 saying, hey, we're not going to play you, then they would only have like 3 or 4 games in the regular season that they could actually play. So they would probably jump ship even sooner to the Big Ten. You're just shooting yourself in the foot by doing that. You might as well back off that threat. It doesn't make any sense. So to me, it comes down to this. It comes down to between the negotiations of the Big 12 and those 6 members, Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, versus can the Pac-12 get a good TV deal to keep the remaining Pac-12 members intact. I don't think the Pac-12 is going to win that war. I think the Big 12 is going to win that war, and it's all because of the Big 10. So the Big 12, if you really think about this, the Big 12 might actually owe the Big 10 a big thanks. Think about that for a minute. The Big 12 might owe the Big 10 a big thanks, because I don't think they would have a shot at all with the teams that they're talking to if the Big 10 hadn't have come in and swooped in and got USC and UCLA. That's a fact. Now, on top of everything I just told you, it seems like there's a last-ditch effort on the Pac-12's part to keep from getting picked apart because they have partnered with the ACC. I'm not sure if this is a smart move or not. I mean, I guess from a bird's eye view, it seems like it might be a smart move because they're claiming strength in numbers to help combat conference realignment. Of course, we already know the Big Ten was going to get kicked out of the alliance because they stabbed their own conference alliance member in the back by going to the Pac-12, grabbing USC and UCLA, so they're out. But it seems like the Pac-12 and the ACC are going to hold strong, and they're going to keep together in their own alliance. So to me, this is not really the Pac-12 and the ACC partnering up, but more about kicking the Big Ten out because the Big Ten stabbed the Pac-12 in the back. Now, could this lead to a straight-up Pac-12 ACC merger? I think that's a big possibility. There's going to be some type of merger somehow, some way between 2 conferences. I think the biggest options were either the ACC and the Big 12 and the Pac-12, or now the Pac-12 and the ACC. Well, with this alliance or partnership, it seems like the ACC and the Pac-12 would be the most likely to merge. But if the Big 12 is able to get Washington, Oregon, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, you just have 4 teams left from the Pac-12. So really, what type of merger is that? And the 4 brands left, not all that great. Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. Those are not great brands. So in order for this partnership / alliance to work out, the Pac-12 needs to keep Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, and especially Oregon and Washington. Otherwise, this partnership doesn't make sense at all. Maybe it's the ACC thinking forward and they're just going to absorb the rest of the Pac-12. Although, I don't know if that's a smart move either. I mean, that's stretching your conference way out west for brands that aren't that great. This does not seem like a smart move. If I had to guess, this would seem like a smokescreen move by the ACC because it just doesn't make sense if this was a real thing. So in my opinion, I think this is more like a smokescreen for the ACC to hide what they're really doing. Yeah. Maybe Notre Dame agrees to go to the ACC full-time in football if they grab Stanford out of the Pac-12, and maybe this is the ACC's way of getting into the Pac-12 more easily. I mean, the Big Ten's already done it. They were part of the alliance, and they snuck in and got USC and UCLA. Could the ACC also be tricking the Pac-12 just like the Big Ten did? Y'all let me know in the comments section if you think this is a legit partnership / alliance, or do you think the ACC is being sneaky just like the Big Ten was? That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.